मधुबन खुशबू देता है, सागर सावन देता है, जीना उसका जीना है, जो औरों को जीवन देता है, मधुबन खुशबू देता है। सूरज ना बन पाए तो बन के दीपक जलता चल, सूरज ना बन पाए तो बन के दीपक जलता चल, फूल मिले या अंगारे, सच की राहों पे चलता चल, सच की राहों पे चलता चल, प्यार दिलों को देता है, अश्कों को दामन देता है, जीना उसका जीना है, जो औरों को जीवन देता है, मधुबन खुशबू देता है, सागर सावन देता है, मधुबन खुशबू देता है। सभी की चलती रहे, चलती है लहरा के पवन के साथ सभी की चलती रहे, लोगों ने त्याग दिए जीवन के प्रीत दिलों में पलती रहे, के प्रीत दिलों में पलती रहे, दिल वो दिल है जो औरों को अपनी धड़कन देता है, जीना उसका जीना है, जो औरों को जीवन देता है, मधुबन खुशबू देता है, सागर सावन देता है, मधुबन खुशबू देता है।
Om Sai Ram. I think we are 5-6 minutes down, so we should start our session with 3 Omkar and Sai Shuraya.
Om Sai Ram.
Om Sai. Om. 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 Om Sai Ishwaraya Vidmahe Satyadevaya Dhimahi Tanna Sarva Prachodayat. Om Sai Ishwaraya Vidmahe Satyadevaya Dhimahi Tanna Sarva Prachodayat. Om Sai Ishwaraya Vidmahe Satyadevaya Dhimahi Tanna Sarva Prachodayat. Om Sai Ishwaraya Vidmahe Satyadevaya Dhimahi तन्न सर्वः प्रचोदयात्. ओम साई ईश्वराय विद्महे सत्यदेवाय धीमहि तन्नः सर्वः प्रचोदयात्. ओम साई ईश्वराय विद्महे सत्यदेवाय धीमहि तन्नः सर्वः प्रचोदयात्. ओम साई ईश्वराय विद्महे सत्यदेवाय धीमहि तन्नः सर्वः प्रचोदयात्. ओम साई ईश्वराय विद्महे सत्यदेवाय धीमहि तन्नः सर्वः प्रचोदयात्. ओम साई ईश्वराय विद्महे सत्यदेवाय धीमहि तन्नः सर्वः प्रचोदयात्. ओम शांति शांति शांति. मूकं करोति वाचालं पंगुं लंघते गिरिं यत्कृपातमं वंदे परमानंद माधवम. O Swami, please think through me, feel through me, act through me, speak through me, conduct through me. Om Sai Ram. Sai Ram, brothers and sisters. Once again, connecting with you, it's a real pleasure, because you feel that you are connecting with the same Sai, within you, and gives a different energy, different love, and wonderful at least that we could all find time on this Sunday morning to come together. Again, coming together is to tuning into God. By the way, before I get into this, the earlier song that we were singing, Madhuban Khushbu Deta, this is one of the songs with, I think Brother Kaustubh used to sing quite often for Swami. And where you see every element is described, the trees give fruits and the river gives water and all that stuff. I think these all elements emerged from Swami, right? So one Swami, when he was not partaking food, then one of the devotees asked Swami, that means you take directly the food grahan from the elements. That's what the question put to Swami, that you directly interact with the nature and take it, certainly maybe not in the gross form. And Swami said, no, you're wrong. The elements derive food from me. You see, only an avatar can put forth that part of statement. And that reminded me when the song was going on. It's so beautiful and fortunate that, we are in this umbrella where we have a chance to redeem ourselves for how many hundreds and thousands of births, I don't know. But having read and understood 84 lakh species and Jantu Nam Narjannam Durlabham, we are really fortunate to finally have arrived. But let's not deprive despite being arrived because of all that we are, embroiled in. So let's tune into God. The voice of God can be heard in a silent mind, it's like when you go to a pond or a lake, clear lake, you can see quite a depth of what's there within. But the moment you drop a stone, the ripples are there, you can't see it. So silence is something like that. In the din of the mental noise and the physical noise around, it's very, very difficult to connect to the divine voice, the conscience which prompts us. So that gets drowned. Similarly, like the ripples of the samsara, the sounds and the interactions of the world drowns that voice. And this is one of the times we try to connect, and in individual sadhana every day, whenever you get time, to tune into the voice of God, for he can be heard in depth of silence. And he has been waiting for all of us. He has been waiting for all of us more than what we had. In fact, I remember reading in Radio Sai that when one of the devotees was asking Swami, see how many devotees are waiting for you, for your darshan. And Swami corrected him and saying that you think devotees are waiting for my darshan? I am all the more waiting for the darshan and love for these devotees. And that's the whole reason why this entire drama started. I separated myself from myself to love myself. And that particular statement, what Swami made to that devotee, that I am eagerly waiting to have darshan of my devotees, speaks about this. That staying alone, he could have enjoyed his life, but he felt, no, there's something I must love. And the creation he created is something where the avatars could come in time and time to love the creation that he have created, guide them again on the right path. All right. So he's waiting for all of us. It's just that we are not able to read and reach that particular frequency where we can connect with him. Satsang helps us to do that. And satsang is not only this satsang, satsang is again a sang or a company of sat, which is a changeless truth. And whenever we establish through whatever medium, we are able to do that. And in Lord Narayana has already assured through Narada in one of the quotes where he says that Mad Bhakta Yatra Gayanti Tatra Tishthanti Narada. Wherever my glory is sung. Sung means not only the song or the bhajan, wherever my glory is spoken about. Like when it happened for Sri Bhagavatam for Parikshit, he says, I install myself. What greater certification we need, brothers and sisters, when we are looking for God and said, you never came. No, he came in some form. I recall one of the stories where Sister Geeta Mohan Ram was saying there was a Janet, who used to clear the bathroom in US. I don't remember the city, but yes, and her son was seriously ill, and she had one day a dream. The Janet was she was an African, and she had a dream. In the vivid dream, it's apparent that Swami came in the dream. She doesn't know Swami at all, and Swami said, "Okay, don't worry, your son is going through a critical time, but he will survive. Tomorrow, when you go to cleaning, there will be a lady who will come in a sari, in this color sari. And when you see that Indian lady, you ask her for some powder, white ash powder. And when you get that, you go and give it to your son and put it on forehead. Now, she was cleaning the toilet as usual the next day. And what happened when that's the time when Sister Geeta Mohan Ram says, when she walked into that washroom, this lady who was cleaning there immediately saw Indian lady sari and she asked, can you give me the powder or the white powder or ash that you have? And now sister is stunned. How does she know that I've got a vibhuti or a white ash powder? She said, is this the one? Yes. And then she says, how come you know that I have it, and this is what it is? And she says that there is this man in the orange robe, afro hair, and he came and told me that there will be one Indian lady coming and you pick it up. And she goes and gives it to son, and son is cured. So that's how it is. He's so omnipresent, omnipotent, omniscient. And he comes in what form? Like for this lady, Janet, Swami came as Sister Geeta Mohan Ram. I remember our state president of Madhya Pradesh, Sri Sachdeva, there was a girl who was cured, who was very chronically ill. And Swami worked through him, gave him a dream, go and touch and forehead and bless her and she will be cured. That's how Bhagwan, we don't know in what form, kis roop mein Narayan hamare samne aa jaye. And that is why we have to be careful. And same thing happened to Sant Namdev when he was taking the holy Ganges water to Rameshwaram. And he was going and walking, his feet were bleeding. And as he was reaching Rameshwaram, about maybe 100 feet or 80 feet away, he can see the temple. That all this while which he has carried with the feet bleeding never stopped, because he has to offer this as Abhishekam. There he sees a donkey which is screeching in agony. Now he's in a dwand. And just remember, it happens to any one of us. He's in a dwand, in a state of mind, thinking whether this Ganges, what I have walked miles, bleeding foot to offer to the Lord, and here is donkey. Now the mind says, no, you must go there, but the heart said, no, I must offer to a donkey who is screeching with agony and with thirst. So he goes and offers to the donkey, and lo and behold, the donkey immediately transforms into Lord Shiva, and rest is history, we all know. So it's an important thing. When Lord comes in whose form, we don't know. So let's not miss any of the acts, any of the prompting we get in throughout our day to do a seva, to do love for the God. All right. So sarvatra yat mad bhakta gayatri tatrati shanti narvata sarvada sarvakaleshu sarvatra harinam chintanam. Any place, anywhere, anytime, there is no binding. Let's keep remembering him, keeping him in the highest priority. And that is what satsang helps us to recalibrate, realign, and bring it back as the main priority, to make him the first in our life. And when make God as the first, God makes us the first in his list. It's an important thing to remember. All right, moving on, a very important reminder: when we wake up, feel that we are entering the stage to play the role assigned by the Lord. We are playing a role, believe it or not. So that's what. Pray that you may act it well and earn his approbation. Let's pray. Let's surrender. Let's understand that whatever Swami we are offering with an unsullied heart. We may make mistakes because being human, we make it. Let's accept it, repent it truly deep into our heart, and then he will forgive that. So earn his approbation. What is important is not only to act, to make sure that when we act, Swami will be happy with this. That's important. At night, when you retire to sleep, feel that you're entering the green room after the scene, but with the costume of the role on. Okay, we are entering the green room. For perhaps the role is not over and you have not been permitted to take the costume off. Important reminder, perhaps you have to make another interest. Perhaps is the word, brothers and sisters. When we take everything for granted, that we got up in the morning, it was something which we never noticed. We must notice that why we got up is because he willed us to get up. There are a lot of people, every day we read of news who haven't got up in the next morning. We spoke about, I heard in one of the speeches, in one of the talks in the YouTube, where they say the dementia patients, when they take the morsel, they die. A lot of them, they die when they eat. Why? Because they forget that they have taken a morsel inside, gets in the throat. How fortunate we are to understand that we have woken up again this morning to be a part of this satsang and then carry on with our lives. Let us remember and be thankful. Perhaps he has given us a chance to perform again. Do not worry about that. Place yourself fully at his disposal. He knows he has written the play. Again, we had a full episode on his will, my will. He knows he has written the play. Okay, we are just an actor, and he knows how it will go on, how it will end. He has given us a chance to act and retire. He has given us a chance to perform so that we can qualify into his list. And that's this particular slide reminds us a lot onto the karma, onto the nishkama karma, onto living in the present, and so on and so forth. Surrender, Sharanagati. All right. Moving on. Everything starts with this pyramid, the ladder, the Sharanagati ladder, as I can, phrase it. First, it starts with a deep interest. We have to show. You see, the fact that you are here or we are here is the interest that we have shown. The fact that we go to Prashanti Nilayam. I remember the days in 70s when we used to get up at about 1:30 in the morning. 1:30 in the morning to go and sit in the queue, take a bed sheet and just be there. It used to be cold. Why? Because there was no token system those days. So we want the first line to be there. Why? Because you show an interest. That's an important part. Show an interest. Self-effort. Because once you show an interest, you put a self-effort and you are positive that these things are going to be good for me. Once you do that, this leads subtly into a faith factor. Faith comes and creeps into your being. You start believing, you're trusting. And when you start doing that, as Sabri did, you start looking into the big picture, because even those setbacks, when there is a setback, sit back and introspect. So setback always connected with sit back means take a step back and then sit back and think about it. Okay, something might can be done. So you start looking into the bigger picture when the faith comes in, why this happened. And when that happens, you come to a stage of acceptance. Acceptance is you start agreeing with what is going on in your life, despite the ups and down, crests and troughs in life. And when you do that, brothers and sisters, surrender creeps in, the Sharanagati creeps in, because now you have accepted everything what's in happening is because of God's grace. My doing is fine as long as I am connected to him and he's connected to me. He's blessing me. That's an important part. So we'll talk a little more, but it's an important reminder that we had. We were into the topic of Navada Bhakti, that is 9 forms of devotion. And we have taken the 6 forms in the preceding weeks or the sessions that we did. We tried to explore a little bit to understand that there is a buffet. You have a thali, Rajasthani thali, or some restaurant you go there, 9 dishes, 10 dishes, 12 dishes. Bhagwan Ram has given this Navada Bhakti. It's like one of the dishes which you can pick up, which can be palatable to your taste, to a spiritual taste and hunger, and move on in life steadfastly. Okay, not wavering and changing. So what are these? What are the 3 remaining that we're going to talk? Last time we ended with Archanam, correct? Archanam is an offering. And then the important essence of all that in part of the Archanam was serve Sai not with vratas, not with processions, puja, ritual, abhisheka, but with satkarma, satvichara, sat achara. So you see, vichar is only mental, vichar is only thought. Achar is putting it to practice. So when you put your vichar into achar, that is what the satkarma is all about. All right, that's what Swami says. Even practice one teaching. We all know by heart. We all know a lot of quotes of Swami. We all know different times we had the privilege and pleasure and fortune of listening to Swami's discourses directly. But how many we have put into our action? That is what matters in the end. So that's what Archanam is. Archanam is offer yourself, offer your good thoughts, words and deeds. And he's really concerned about our bhavam and feelings and not about paraphernalia, that packaging and all that stuff. Would you like when you take a chocolate you buy from the market, we're not interested in the wrapper goes off for a toss. What is inside, and that is what is bhavam, that is what is essence, brothers and sisters. God is interested in that, so that when we are doing a bhajan, when we are doing anything, it should not be a 1 hour affair. If it is a 1 hour affair, it's almost like a, like an emotion. You just came in, connected for an hour and just moved on. Emotion to spread and become into devotion, and devotion should expand and become into transformation. All right. And when we are doing and escalating our spiritual progress in this manner, the moment transformation comes in, let's say we speak a lot of untruth. Let's say you get angry. Like with my case, it's quite often that okay, things I may not agree, there are things I need to work on that. So when we see that there are certain things like this, we should start from there our progress and measuring it day to day, week by week, to see whether we could hold back certain part of that vice that we have within us. So that is when the transformation starts. And we should not end on being a transformation. Then we should spread the transformation learning, and we should become transformers. All right. By your acharan, by your way of doing things, the people, the society will take a note and think, yes, this is genuine Sai devotees. He's doing so well. He's doing so nice. So that is an important thing which we ended up Archanam last week. Let's take into the couple of other facets. Now, before we do that, it's important also to understand, as described, there are 4 different types of categories of devotees. For the first is Arthi. Arthi means means any sorrow or grief, sadness, trouble, I'll call Arthi. And then when you end up starting praying, when a person sees by distress, whom he calls last resort, then that category of the devotee who remembers God only when there is a trouble, is called an Arthi. All right. So we all are sitting here. Let's analyze and understand where we stand. Are we Arthis? That's why you see the word Arthi. Arthi has got a lot of significance, even from the point of view that when a devotee offers an Arthi, he's an Arthi. Arthi in the sense that he is offering at the same time he's praying to God for relief, for solace. All right. So this kind of devotee is called Arthap, a devotee in distress. Next category of devotee is Artharthi. Artharthi, Artha means what is desired. In this context, means wealth, things, progeny, power, status, and so on. So when you are looking for this, to invoke the grace of Bhagavan, the devotee thinks he cannot live happily without these things. And so he starts getting into the mannat mode. When you go to Tirupati, I will shave off my hair. If you do this, I will go to this temple and offer 100 Brahmins some feast when you do this. So this is the devotee which comes into the Artharthi phase. Artharthi means you are into a transaction, right? So you are invoking God when you are, trying to get power, progeny, or whatever related to a desire. The first one was when you are in a distress, when you are troubled. Then comes Jigyasu. Jigyasu is the one who wants to know, who wants to explore, who wants to go within. He has a desire to do it. So he's a step ahead of that, right? And we had Lord Buddha also, when he went around and he saw a sick devotee and a dead man and an old man. So all these phases troubled him and he wanted to know further. So he entered from being all these categories of devotee into a Jigyasu, started learning to understand what is the cause of these changes in life, what are the causes of these pains, right? We all see those things in events happening around us. The COVID showed us the worst of the human tragedy that civilization has witnessed. But have we all become Buddha? Have any one of them become Buddha seeing that? No, we did not. And it's an important lesson that COVID taught us to go within. We were all isolated because because we became so late in understanding God's whole plan and working in a right manner that we were isolated. So let COVID teach us what it has taught, and let us start going within. Jigyasu is the same connection that we are trying to establish now. Going within, understanding the facets of life, to know the truth. And then finally, once you have worked on that path, you become a jnani. Jnani means you have realization has dawned on him, like it did to Buddha. It's very important. That's a word. When you see the word Hindi in Hindi, Sant, saint does not glorify the word of the Sant. Sant in the word is derived from Sat. Sat means truth, the changeless truth. Ant means end. So the person who ends his chase, his jigyasu, who ends his journey knowing the truth, is truly a sant, one who has known a truth and ended to that level. He is called a sant. Sant is a sage. All right. The true word for English word for sant is sage. All right. So these are important four categories. And it was important for us while we are speaking about devotion to also know how a devotee is categorized, how a devotee, where do we fall in it, so that we know where to progress from where to where. Moving on. Let's today uh, deal with the last three. Hopefully we should be able to do it. Vandanam. Vandanam is supreme reverence or prayer to the Lord, and it's the sixth form of devotion. Yeah, sixth form of devotion. In this form, devotion, a devotee begins to see his favorite form of the Lord everywhere, in all the beings, in all the objects. Right? You get so resonated, you get so synced with the Lord that you start seeing him in almost all the places. Like Ramakrishna Paramahansa, he used to see uh, Ma Kali, he used to talk to Ma Kali statue live. And sometimes he used to make Ma Sharda, his wife, sit and he used to start praying. Lord Chaitanya used to see that consciousness, Krishna consciousness, even in the pillars, even in the stuff around. It's so important to understand. And that is where we actually realize what Vandanam is. All right. So it's important aspect of devotion. Vandanam is an intensely personal process. It may also be the most universal form of bhakti, right? Creating our most ancient ties. When we start praying deeply for others, especially in COVID times, again, when we saw humanity down to the knees, and we were all down on our knees praying to God. Everybody, you can imagine the shriek of prayers which went around, which made us believe God is there. He will respond. Even the biggest of the atheists must have turned on that day to look up to him and respond. And that is where Vandanam took place. That is where Vandanam started. The prayer is a reflection of our spiritual realization that he is omnipresent, omniscient, and omnipotent. This Vandanam, and then Bhagavan says, whenever you chant Samasta Loka and embrace all sentient and sentient being without moving any, the vibrations released by the Samasta Loka prayer, he says, will reach the Lord's heart, and his bliss will reach us all. For what pleases him is that we unite and live together in peace and harmony. Samasta Loka will help you reach the real you. Your life can be a fragrant offering by when you are praying this. So what Swami is trying to do, and what virtually all religions are trying to do by prayers, bhajans, and vandanam, is to awaken the superconscious mind. Unknowingly, we are not getting into the Ashtanga Patanjali Yoga. We are not getting into the Kundalini awakening chakras or the mediums. But by doing bhajanam, by doing vandanam, by doing 9 forms of devotion, some way or the other, Bhagwan has helped us to awaken that divinity, to trigger that part. The methodology of overcoming an agitation of the mind, I've just put this up just to let you know what power of meditation mantras can have. It calms the disturbing waves of thought. Baba's light meditation introduces love and awakens super consciousness. Then bhajan service study circle, it helps us to create a devotional love, expand love, to understand the nature of man and nature of divinity and connect them again. All right. So very important for us, whenever we all sat and we had a series, and week after week, I think every day, and then weekly, Thursday once, we continued with the prayer when the whole planet was engulfed with this human tragedy of COVID-19 aftermath. So let us understand Vandanam is when you truly realize that God is omnipresent, omniscient, and omnipotent, and then you pray to Him, especially when you pray selflessly without an agenda, He responds. Going on to the next one, brothers and sisters, let's go to Dasyam. Now, Dasyam is a servitude. Dasyam is basically a state where you serve. It is more of a guru and disciple, or a God and disciple, where you take God as guru and divine master and you serve him as a disciple. Right now, we all generally, at least I will cast myself as more of a devotee with a lot of emotion, devotion still to come. So when you become a disciple, so Dasyam is a seventh form of devotion where devotee sees himself not just as a servant of the Lord, but also servant of Lord's Dasanudas. Lord's devotees also he serves. I remember, Father, whenever we used to have conferences in Rourkela, Odisha earlier, and now in Madhya Pradesh, most of the devotees, a lot of these devotees, state office bearers, all they will come and stay at home and then serving and all. Dasanudas, because by his aptitude and approach, he used to feel that I'm not feeding the devotees only, I'm feeding Satya Sai in the form of devotees who have come to my home. And brothers, that's the aspect which Dasyam covers as the seventh form of devotion. It means being servant of God, leaving aside one's most important work to attend to him, right? And the best example that Bhagavan has given is of Hanumana. There cannot be any parallel to a Dasyam, what Lord Hanumana did, right? When he was asked by Ravana, who are you? He said, I am the servant of Lord Rama. And when we ask, who are you? We'll say, I am Bindu Shekhar Jha, working as so and so and so and so. Let's learn this from Hanuman. He said, I am the servant of the Lord Rama. That's what was the introduction. And when you say, I am the servant of the Lord Rama, and Lord Rama is the master, he takes over, brothers and sisters. And that's what he did when Hanuman was there. When he was going to Lanka, he did not have a GPS or a navigational route or a map. How do we go? So there was a meeting between him, Sugriva, and all that, sitting and understanding. And Rama, this whole episode is beautifully shared in one of the Ram Katha Raswahini sessions when Hanuman returns back, and then Lord Rama said, how did you manage to go and reach there in Lanka where Sita is? And how did you manage to return? So Hanuman says that you gave me a ring, yeah? You gave me to go and meet Sita and give it to her, right? And in that was enough for me, like a one-way ticket to reach out there. The rest you all carried, because I know when you have given me a task, you will give me the rights, qualifications to achieve the task. Then Lord Rama says, okay, that's fine. Then how did you return? Then he says, Ma Sita gave me this to come back and give it to you. And that was my return ticket. I had that confidence. And so I came back. And that is what is Dasyam. It's very important for us to understand. Hanuman had all these qualities, and Rama embraced him, saying, you are more dear to me than even Lakshmana. Because he embraced Lord Hanuman. And I remember Brother Sundar Iyer, when he was leaving the hostel premises, because he was personally attended to Swami, I think somewhere in 80s. And when he was 18, Swami said, okay, ask me what you want. He said, Swami, please embrace me as Lord Rama did to Hanuman. And Bhagavan says, well, remember one thing, while Hanuman was embraced by Rama, you are yet to be a Hanuman to be embraced by Sai Rama. What he said was that, while I will embrace you, but remember, you are not yet Hanuman yet, right? Despite having served there. So the qualification required is a lot, and that qualification, nothing but selfless love and love and love to the master, implicit obedience to his commands. All right. So let's listen to what Swami said about Dasyam, about Hanuman, and what we can learn from Hanuman as part of the seva.
సేవకులు అభివృద్ధి కావాలి.
There is need for increasing the number of sevaks.
సేవకత్వమే నాయకత్వం అనేటువంటి ఒక దృఢమైన విశ్వాసం మనలో అభివృద్ధి పరచుకోవాలి.
The servant's attitude will make you a leader. This particular faith must be developed.
కనుక సేవా సంస్థల యందు ఇట్టివారు అట్టివారు అనేటువంటి నిర్ణయాలు ఏమాత్రం కూడా చేయకుండా అందరూ కూడా సేవా సంస్థల్లో ప్రవేశించాలి.
In service organizations, there should not be any difference of high and low. All people should participate in service.
అసలు మానవత్వం రావటమే సేవా నిమిత్తం.
The very human life is given in order to serve.
ఎంత బలమున్నా,
Whatever
ఎంత చదువున్నా,
whatever education you
ఎంత
have,
పదవున్నా,
whatever power and authority you may have,
సేవకత్వంలో ఉండినటువంటి యొక్క శక్తి సామర్థ్యములు మరి దేని ఎందుకును మనకు కానరావు.
the pleasure and joy which you derive in service you cannot get anywhere else.
హనుమంతుడు గుణవంతుడు, బలవంతుడు.
Hanuman was a virtuous person and a very strong one.
అలాంటి బలవంతుడైన హనుమంతుడు అశోకవనంలో ప్రవేశించినప్పుడు రాక్షసులందరూ కూడాను ఈ క్రొత్త స్వరూపాన్ని, వికార స్వరూపాన్ని చూచి విచిత్రంగా ప్రశ్నిస్తూ వచ్చారు. ఎవరయ్యా మీరు అన్నారు.
When this Hanuman entered the garden of Ashokavana, the devils saw this strange form and asked a question, who are you?
ఆ హనుమంతుడు ఎంత చల్లగా జవాబిస్తున్నాడు తెలుసునా? తన యొక్క బలమును, తన యొక్క గుణమును, తన యొక్క శక్తిని ఏమాత్రం కూడా నువ్వు విశ్వసించకుండా, దాసోహం కోసలేంద్రస్య, నేను రామచంద్రుని యొక్క దాసుడను అని మొట్టమొదట అడ్రస్ ఇచ్చుకున్నాడు.
He replied very sweetly, without mentioning any one of his accomplishments and powers, that I am the servant of Rama.
కనుక దైవదాసులుగా ఉండటం అనేటువంటిది ఎంత గొప్ప విలువ మీరు విచారించాలి.
From this you can find out what a great thing it is to be servant of God.
సకల లోకములకు సృష్టికర్త అయినటువంటి కృష్ణుడు, సకల శక్తివంతమైనటువంటి యొక్క కృష్ణుడు కేవలము ఒక హనుమంతునకు డ్రైవర్గా అపాయింట్ అయినాడు, రథసారథిగా నిర్మింపబడ్డాడు.
Krishna, who is the creator of all this world, who had all powers under his control, became a driver to Arjuna.
సేవకా భావం అనేటువంటిది భగవంతునికి అనాది కాలం నుండి కూడా అత్యంత ప్రీతి.
From times immemorial, this attitude of servant is very dear to the Lord.
కనుక ప్రతి మానవుడు కూడా దైవాంశ స్వరూపుడే.
Every man is an aspect of
ఓ
God.
మానవుడా, నీవు పంచభూత స్వరూపుడు కాదు.
Oh man, you are not a conglomeration of 5 elements.
నీవు ప్రాకృత బింబము కాదు.
You are not a reflection of the worldly
పంచేంద్రియ
nature.
స్వరూపుడు కాదు.
You are not the one who comes to.
మమైవాంశో జీవలోకే జీవభూత సనాతన, నీవు సనాతనమైనటువంటి నా అంశమనే నీవు కూడా.
You are my own aspect which doesn't perish at all.
ఇట్టి భావాన్ని మొట్టమొదట సేవకుల హృదయాల్లో భద్రం చేసుకోవాలి.
People who undertake service must firmly have this kind of faith in them.
అప్పుడే ఈ సేవయందు ఎట్టి లోపములు లేకుండా కూడాను హృదయపూర్వకంగా సేవలు చేయగలరు.
Then only they will be able to do service without any flaw.
Yeah, so that was important for us from the Dasyam. It's very important also to understand that once we are a disciple in the sense when the one who follows the command 100%, 10 on 10. And I remember one episode in Sai Satcharita in 1917 when all were sitting together. You know, Shidi Baba was sitting. There was Mlaspati, there was Dasganu, there was Abdul Shama. They all were sitting there, and then this talk was going on, and then they said, Lord, we are all so intensely devoted to you, and we all follow what you are saying and all that. And Shri Baba said, this is nonsense. None of you are following what I'm saying. You are not my disciple, because they were thinking they are his disciple. They said, we are your disciple. Baba said, you are not my disciple. You're just a devotee. I don't count any one of you as my disciple, because disciple will be one who will follow everything what I say. They shook them up because they were all very close and very deeply devoted souls to Shri Baba, and Shama could not take this. Shama started crying, and Shama said, Baba, except you have nothing in my life. I have devoted everything for you. I don't see myself separate from you. And as he was crying, Baba took him to the room next, and he said, of all the Lord, you are only disciple of Shri Sai. And when he said that, 83-year-old Shama breathed his last, brothers and sisters, and that was the time what it says that Shri Baba had tears in his eyes. Right? And that's what a disciple does. I'm also reminded of Adi Shankaracharya's disciple, Padmapada. And he used to always wash his clothes in the given time. That day there was a lot of weather was bad. It was high seas, high tide was on. But since his time was there for cleaning the clothes, he went on with that. So he went to clean, and when he was cleaning, the water started rising and the waves started coming up. But he was not worried because the whole focus was, I have to clean my Lord's clothes, take them, put them nicely, dry them up. And this servitude, the dasyam bhav, was too much overwhelming. So despite all the weather and the storms coming in, he did not mind. He wasn't aware much. And as he was returning, scriptures say, in each step of his, there was a lotus which was floating, and that helped him put his leg in on each step and arrive safely. And that is what disciple is rewarded with. That is what dasyam offers us. So it's very important for us to understand that dasyam has got a very, very prominent place in the 9 forms of devotion. And we all try to do Narayan Seva. And when we do Narayan Seva, let us always calibrate and benchmark against the Seva that Lord Hanuman does, without a sense that I am doing it. I am his servant. So whenever I'm doing, Swami is working and serving through me. That should be the feeling. And I'm happy that I get an opportunity. Moving on to the last and no, the next 8th form of devotion, Sakyam. Sakyam is the 8th form of devotion wherein the devotee considers himself to be the friend or the Sakha of Supreme. Sakyam means personal friendship with God, a friendship in which there is a constant desire in his to be in his company, right? Krishna himself tells us who is his friend. So Arjuna, you're both my friend and a bhakta. Now see the rare category he has given to Lord Arjuna, to Arjuna. You are my friend as well as your bhakta. And that is what Sakyam. Sakyam breaks the barriers between you and him. You can approach him. I remember brother Vinod Karthik, who's in Bangalore running the orphanage, has decided, scripted. I can tell you that is a complete scripted project of Swami. Even after Swami left, all that and how he passed on into that project is a wonderful session to hear. And in him, he used to always call Bhagwan as Krishna, never as Swami, never as Satyasai. That was inbuilt in him. He used to always see Krishna and he used to always call, and he felt that camaraderie, the Sakyam Bhava with Krishna. When I spoke to him when in the 2011, 12 and earlier days, he used to say me that. That was the authority, that was the frankness he shared with Bhagwan, right? So Sakyam gives you that access, the password that we look for Wi-Fi, the connectivity to the Bhagwan, that you can reach him anytime, right? Let's understand and see what friendship with God means truly in Swami's terms.
If you want to be dear friends of Bhagavan, conduct yourself properly. You don't need to come here. Bhagavan will come to you.
I will come there. I will come there. Wherever you say.
Bhagavan promises, I will come there.
Wherever
I will
you
come
say,
there.
I will come there.
Bhagavan will come to you.
I am with you,
I am with you.
in you, around you, behind you.
Bhagavan promises, declares that Bhagavan is in you, with you, around you.
బుద్ధులు మీలో అభివృద్ధి పరచుకుంటే
If you have that determined feeling,
I am not separate from you.
Bhagavan is not separate from you.
I and you are one.
Bhagavan says, I and you are one.
ఇట్టి ఏకత్వానికి మీరు ప్రయత్నం చేయండి.
Have the sense of oneness.
ఇట్టి దివ్యత్వానికి ప్రయత్నం చేయండి.
Trying to
ఇట్టి
change
పవిత్రతను
divinity.
మీరు పెంచుకోండి.
Develop the sacred quality.
ఎంతైనా మీరు అభివృద్ధి ఉంటారు.
You'll certainly progress.
లౌకికంగా, భౌతికంగా, ఆర్థికంగా అన్నింటి ఎందుకు కూడా మీరు అభివృద్ధి అవుతారు.
In all aspects of life, physical, financial, spiritual, you'll progress definitely.
అన్నిటికీ మీరు అభివృద్ధి వచ్చి లీడర్స్ గా నిలుస్తారు.
And you'll be leaders.
కనుక
Therefore,
ఈ దైవనామాన్ని చక్కగా మీరు పెంచుకొని
chant the name of God repeatedly.
నిరంతరము దైవచింతన చేస్తూ
Think of God continuously.
పిబరే ప్రేమరసం రసనే పిబరే రామరసం పిబరే తప్పక మీరు నడుచుకోండి.
If you want to be dear friends of Bhagavan, conduct yourself
మీరు
properly.
ఇక్కడ రానక్కర్లేదు, నేనే అక్కడికి వస్తాను.
You don't need to come here. Bhagavan will come to you.
I will come there. I will come there. Wherever you say.
Bhagavan promises, I will come there.
Wherever
I
you
will come
say, I
there.
will come there.
Bhagavan will come to you.
I am with you,
I am with you.
in you, around you,
Bhagavan promises to declare that Bhagavan is in you, with you, around you. If you have that determinate feeling, I am not separate from you. Bhagavan is not separate from you. I and you are one. Bhagavan says, I and you are one.
How beautiful he shows us that he's the friend of friends. And that is what I remember when when I was dropping my sister to her in-laws the first time after she got married. And she was in her in-laws place, first time out of home, being totally cuddled and pampered between two brothers and parents and all that we all experience, every sister who has stepped out of the home and gone to the in-laws. And that's where we were talking about it. Tears were there. We were coming out. I was coming out. I was thinking how to leave her alone, and that is where the interaction took place. This way back in 1992. And the one thing which came, that while parents physically cannot be there, brothers physically cannot be there, there's one aspect which remains. And I spoke to her and she also felt the same deeply, that Swami and Satya Sai is always there with you as the best friend. So stay connected. When he's there, you don't need to worry about it. I still remember that having said, because it was difficult to leave her after years of being together. So that's what Sakyam Bhav gives us. It gives a lot of empowerment, a lot of frankness to talk and share anything with Bhagavan. Whatever mistakes we have done with Bhagavan. You see, if you're not in the Sakyam Bhav or the mode, you'll not be able to share completely. It's just that you share everything with your friend, you come into that mode, and Lord is ever there standing and waiting for you to embrace that and then share your part of the burden. That is what Sakyam does. And that is what, when Sudama went to Krishna, Krishna did that, in turn with the small, he was hesitating to go. Then his wife said, your friend is there, why you hesitate? He has been your childhood friend. And then he prepared something, of the khichdi at home. And when he went there, Krishna, when he came to know, because he was standing at the door and the guards were not letting him, when Krishna knew that Sudama has come, he came rushing, he washed Sudama's feet. As you can see in this photograph here, he washed his Sudama's feet and then took him inside. So this is how, brothers, sisters, God honors a devotee as a friend. So let's understand and enjoy these 9 forms of devotions and pick them as to our taste, wherever and whichever way we can connect to the Lord. Last but not the least, the 9th one is Atma Nivedanam. The word itself is powerful. It talks hugely about the Sharanagati. The English word surrender cannot define the grandeur of the word Sharanagati. All right. Atma Nivedanam is the 9th form of devotion, which means complete surrender to the will of the Supreme with no traces of ego. Completely filled with the devotion to God, the devotee gains the knowledge of his true self. The example of such surrender is King Bali. Bhagavan has so many times quoted this when King Bali was visited by this Brahmin, a small dwarf Brahmin, whom he said, yes, I'm honored to serve you. Ask what you want. The Brahmin said, I want to ask you 3 boons. He said, yes, please go ahead. Ask 3 wishes, whatever you are in. Narayana himself in caution Bali that, hey, don't go into the trap. This man is going to really trap you. Understand, he's Lord Narayana. And Bali said, I've offered my word. And what greater fortune to serve the Narayana himself. And rest is history when that dwarf became huge Vamana avatar, putting 1 step on the space, 1 on the earth, with the 3rd step, because there were 3 steps that he had asked for, 3 steps of land. And the 3rd step, when there was nothing left, King Bali offered himself. Atma Nivedanam, complete surrender. Here I surrender to you, Lord. And the rest is history. So that's where Bhagavan always quotes as an example of Atma Nivedan for King Bali. All right. And there are many cases, even Prahalada. Hopefully we'll talk about this in the next. Let's see this. Okay. I was trying to hyperlink one of them. Anyway, let's move on in Atma Nivedan further. Bhagavad Gita, chapter 9, verse 22. We had a sharing in the last session as well. It says very, very clearly, Yogakshemam Vahamyam. How beautiful it is said. Bhagavan says, whoever among devotees dedicates all acts to me with no other thought, meditates on me, serves me, worships me, I'm always with him. I bear the burden of his Yogakshema, that is welfare. Do you hear me clearly, Arjuna? What an assurance this is, brothers and sisters. And then into the other chapter 18, verse 66, he says, Sarva dharmam parityajya mamam ekam sharanam vraja. Okay, aham tvam sarva papebhyo mokshaya shami ma suchaha. What he says is, simply surrender unto me. Atma nivedanam. I shall liberate you from sinful actions. Now, what is stopping us from this surrender? Surrender can't be conditional, brothers and sisters. Surrender is something that we have to implicitly, as a disciple, offer our entire state of being, mind, body, and Atma MBA to Bhagavan, so that he can take over. It's like you're signing a power of attorney to the Lord who takes over. And then he starts working through you, chiseling you, all right? And then refining you to make you as a better individual. When we see, there was this particular photograph, when you see here, there was this mountaineer who used to climb in the mountains. And one fine night, as he was climbing, his legs slipped apart. He fell down. So all these mountaineers have got this, called snappers, which will hang them, which will hold them fast. So as he fell down, he was hanging in the deep, dark night, which was wintry and the wind blowing. Now he was not completely down on the ground, so he was still safe. And that's why he realized, if I fall down much, I may get killed. And his heart, who was an atheist, he was an atheist by nature, his heart cried, "Oh Lord, please help me. In this dark night, I don't see anyone. Please help me." And there was a voice which was heard by him. "Okay, do you trust me?" The man who was an atheist so far said, "Yes, I trust you, my Lord. Tell me, please help me." And the voice said, "Cut the ropes." Now the problem came, the terms and conditions came. This is where your Sharanagati, your surrender is tested. The man was tested, was told, cut the ropes. And he thought, if I'll cut the ropes, this is what I wanted, Lord, me to just pick me up like a chopper, take up. And he's telling me to cut the ropes. I can't cut the ropes, because if I cut the ropes, I'm going to drop dead. And in that dichotomy, he did not do anything. And what happened was, next morning, when there were people who were walking past or going there, they found a body hanging, how much? Just about 6 or 3 feet above the ground. Just about 6 feet. Imagine if this man had trust, complete surrender and trust in what God or that voice said, he would have cut the ropes. He wouldn't have died, because he was just about 5-6 feet down. And that is what tested times brings us to us, brothers and sisters. Surrender is something that should be completely unconditional. And that is where, when you do an unconditional surrender, everything which is pre-written can be rewritten by the Lord. All right. In devotion, now summing up, coming closer to this particular episodes of Navada Bhakti. In devotion, Bhagavan says there are two. There is one Dvaita. That is, one is devotee and one is God. You are devoted to God, so you are a devotee. And it is something where a devotee, by his own effort, tries to hold on to the God, right? It's like a markata, like a monkey holding on to the mother, right? The whole effort the baby monkey is putting, not the mother monkey. So the effort is of a devotee to hold to the God. And then in the other case of surrender against devotion, in surrender, there is no Dvaita. You become one. Bhagavan says you do not exist because you're dissolved completely. When you offer yourself and everything to God, you don't exist. There is now only one. This is Advaita. And then he talks about sugar and water. When you mix it, becomes one, like a syrup. And typically it is resembled as a kitten which is carried by the mother cat, right? A kitten doesn't know, just lies there completely in trust and surrender. The mother cat picks up the kitten and takes around. And that's what the state of surrender is all about. He says, if Bhakta is dedicated all his body, mind and existence to the Lord, he will himself look after everything, for he will always be with him. Under such conditions, there is no need for prayer. Mark this word. There is no need. When the prayer is as long as we are trying to reach out to Bhagavan. But when you are in state of that awareness that you and God are one, that you have already surrendered, then in that state, there is no separate session required. There is no separate study circle required, because you are always in Sat Chit Ananda. You are always in that connectivity. You are always staying connected. All right. And that is important. Then Bhagavan says, when losses, and then he says, have you dedicated yourself and surrendered so? No. He says, when losses occur, When calamities come, when sufferings come, the bhakta doesn't take even a shucks away from blaming the Lord. Some, on the other hand, pray to him to save him, avoiding both these as well as the reliance on others. If complete place, the faith is placed on Lord, do you think he will deny it? Bhagavan says, why should he desist helping you? Men do not rely fully, unswervingly on the Lord. Therefore, though you have to be the agent and instrument doing everything, keep on praying with devotion and faith. Faith is a product of Shanti, not of haste and hurry. So, brothers and sisters, Atma Nivedanam, total surrender Saranagati, warrants this unconditional submission to the will of divine. And then he says, I shall be with you wherever you are, guarding you and guiding you. His assurance is, I remember when Swami's Mahasamadhi happened, uh, uh, of course, before that also we have shared enough how Swami came in the dream and indicated fully that he's about to leave. So that was something we shared then, well before Swami was taken to the hospital that time. After the Mahasamadhi, which I got the fortune of being there, when I came back, the first, I think it was Sunday morning, again before the study circle, I got a dream. In that dream, you can see the Prashanti Mandir and it is absolutely barren. There is nobody. I mean, in the Kalwant hall that used to be sand those days. So that was the dream I had. And in the Kulwant, in the Prashanti Mandir, Swami was sitting inside. There was hardly few, and I was not allowed to enter the mandir. So I was standing outside near the pillar, and I was crying profusely. After that prayer, Swami came out, and then he came to me, and then I said, Swami, I'm standing. I was not allowed in, and then Swami says, I'm in you, above you, below you, besides you, around you. And then he took my face and cheek against his cheek and kept patting. Then I said, Swami, I know that, but there are a lot of things which we know, but we don't experience. So, this is fire, but till you put your finger, you don't know what fire is. I said, Swami, I know that, but I'm yet to taste, I'm yet to experience. The Swami says, no. Again, he said the whole thing, I'm in you, above you, around you. And then he says, take Pad Namaskar. So I took his Pad Namaskar. And when I woke up in the dream, after that there was study circle session and also when I opened the book to prepare or look into something, can you believe the first phrase that came to me or the book on that page was, I'm in you, around you, above you, below you. These were the words that Swami resonated that time. And it stays on till today, brothers, despite the odds we all see. I mean, everybody has got a story in their life to share, but I can tell you he stays on. He has maintained that loyalty of the statement that he gave. He's in me, around me, below me, above me. Otherwise, things would have been very different. So take this assurance to the heart. And not only that, you look at this beautiful assurance I'm always watching over you. He says, your faith should give you total confidence in me. You should have implicit confidence that I will look after. Okay, I'm always watching over you. Again, remember, he's watching over all of us, protecting you. You have the confidence that I will never let you down. How will he let down his devotee who has surrendered? Anyatha sharanam nasti. He is completely, once we surrender, he takes over the reins. Just as you lean against a wall, knowing it will not collapse, lean on me. He's imploring, he's pleading, lean on me and depend on me entirely. I will then look after you. If you depend on me with complete faith, now see the assurance. I will provide your welfare and look after your needs in this world and in the next world. That means once we leave and depart from the physical gross plane, in that part of the journey also he'll stay within. What an assurance the Lord has given. The Lord has gone several times miles bound ahead. And there's also an episode when Bhishma thought in Mahabharata war that he's going to finish Arjuna that day. And Bhishma initially had this opinion that while Krishna has taken a promise that I will not pick up the bows, the weapons, Bhishma said, I will force him to a situation where he picks up. And that is where he starts fiercely attacking Arjuna. And Krishna, knowing that today is the day Bhishma has thought, the ever-knowing Lord, though he had promised he will not pick up a weapon, he gets down the chariot, picks up a wheel. And that is where it's beautifully scripted as a poem. पवल प्रेम के पाले पढ़कर हमने प्रभु को नियम बदलते देखा, अपना मान भले ही टल जाए, भक्तन का मान नहीं टलते देखा. What it means is, gods become so helpless to a devotee who has surrendered that he is ready to change the rules of engagement. He is ready to break the rules that he has set to save that devotee. And that devotee qualification is only when you are in the state of Atmanivedanam, when you have completely surrendered, brothers and sisters. All right. So let's have this faith that once we have surrendered with any one of these 9 forms of devotion, because the culmination of the 8 forms of devotion, brothers and sisters, the culmination, the pinnacle of all the 8 forms is the 9th form, which is Atmanivedanam. If you don't come to Sharanagati state, the final stage, then we are still a lot of miles to cover, though we are doing Archanam, Vandanam, Nidhi Dhyashanam, Mananam, Shravanam, everything. But till we come to the state of surrender, we will not have. Parikshit also, when he heard those stories, Shravanam, yes, through Shravanam he attained liberation, but he had complete faith that these surrender, that these 7 days of my listening to that story and the Mahima and the glory of the Lord is going to liberate me. And that was a state of surrender. So very important for us all to come to that state of surrender and and fructify and redeem our lives. I recall one of the stages, and again surrender doesn't come. A lot of time there was a small Chinna Katha where Bhagwan says there was a person who was cutting a branch on which he was sitting, and Lord Shiva and Parvati were watching this, and as they were watching, a lot of devotees are like that. I mean, one of us are like that. I am definitely. So when we are cutting, the Parvati said, he's your devotee. He prays you morning, evening and all. So we must go and save him because he's going to fall. Lord Shiva says, okay, let's do this. That if he calls Amma, you go. If he calls Appa, I will rush there to save him. So they both were watching and this guy was cutting and cutting. So once the branch broke and he was dropping, he neither called Amma nor Appa. He said, Ayyo. Ayyo. And then that Ayyo means nobody. A lot of times you remember when we crisis, we fall down on a ditch or we, suddenly lose our balance. Word comes out from our mouth is a slang. It's never, oh, Sai Ram. It's never, Swami, protect me. And until we give that word, that signal, as Draupadi did when she called out Hridayavasi. Before that, she was calling Mathura Vasi, Dwarka Vasi, and Krishna had to travel from all the places. The moment she said Hridaya Vasi, Krishna appeared and the sari manifested in miles and miles. And that is what is needed. We have to be very particular about straight shrieking prayer from the heart. And only when we surrender will he come and take over. As long as we keep fighting it out ourselves based on our ego, our strength, our potency, he becomes a witness and you are a participant. The moment we surrender, brothers and sisters, we become the witness, he becomes the participant through us. And that's the difference which changes the entire gambit of the game. Another story I'm reminded of this. Of course, brother Kasturi Garuji, we all know about his surrender. We all have spoken about it. There's brother Thomas in Singapore. We spoke about who comes to Narayan Seva, how his wife, who was in a terminal stage of cancer, they invited us for a dinner. We were 30 of us. We went there. And can you imagine in that state also, brother Thomas cooked for everyone. We had a wonderful bhajan. And when I spoke to her, she was saying that I am not, I forget her name. May the brother, she will remember. I'm not maybe Juliet, or just to take the name. I am Atma. That was her talk when she died. She was completely in sync with Bhagwan. You could see that. And even that state when the doctor said few days, she was so vibrant and smiling and radiant, serving and meeting Swami's devotees. That is what is Atma Nivedanam. That is surrender, brothers and sisters. Lastly, Punjabi lady story, there was this Punjabi lady who did not have grandchildren, and for years and years, all the 4 daughter-in-laws did not have grandchildren, and she kept repeating going to Puttaparthi. One fine particular year when she visited, and Swami was in the darshans, and she pleaded, Swami, all these 4 my daughter-in-laws, they don't have son, they don't have children for years, and Swami said, Amma, idhar nahi likha. Swami exactly said that, Amma, this is not written in the destiny. And then she catches hold of Swami and holds her hand, Swami's hand, and says, The utthe likhna bhul gaya, to itthe likh de. Meaning, oh Lord, you forgot to write up there the destiny. You can write it right now. Look at the faith that the lady had. And God is Bhakta Dasanudasa. Lord surrendered. Lord blessed the four ladies, the four daughter-in-laws. They all came with their children the next time when they visited Varti. And that is what complete surrender is. Complete faith is. She had command over the Lord. Brothers and sisters, with this part of uh, our session, we end up with the 9 forms of devotion that we had undertaken, a few weeks back. There is much more to expand and read from various Radio Sai material and Swami's, discourses as well as scriptures we have. Please continue this journey, and remember, until we come to a stage of Atma Nivedanam, we are still a bit far from what Swami desires from his chosen devotees. I invite Brother Shastri to come in and share one of the 108 names for today.
Yes, Sairam, brothers and sisters. I think before I share the 108 name, Brother Bindu and all brothers and sisters on the call today, let me tell you, I think Swami, as we were discussing all the 9 forms of devotion, this 107 name of Swami is what I selected. I mean, it was just, I screwed on what name it comes. I just think, okay, I will do this at the end of the session. And Brother Bindu has just mentioned the story of the woodcutter who was on the branch. Is the story associated with the 107 name? That is Om Sri Sai Sulabha Prasannaya Namaha. The Lord who can be pleased very easily. Exactly the same story is what is there under that name in that 108 name booklet that was brought out. And I think sometime back I shared with all of you.
Yes.
So one more thing I just would like to share in this context when it comes to Sulabha Prasannaya Namaha, our hostel days. Swami, he's a very close to us in a, very, you cannot describe it, how close it was. But all of a sudden he would withdraw from us, and he would, his beautiful hair that is there, he would just cover his face. See, he would come out of the door and very, with a great knack that he always had, he would cover his head that way, turn it and move away to the lady's side. And also after finishing the ladies' side and gents' side, come this side, and there is a roundabout there, right? That before the Kulwanthal came. So he used to go around the entire metal, the round that is there, and he would again not show his face and show only the hair to us. And he would take the people who has picked up for the interview, and he would walk into the interview room. And this drama would go on sometimes for a month too. However many letters we have written from the hostel, everything. Now the climax comes one day that we all decide, okay, we are going to Gero Swami now. We just rush, and then we, just try to, catch him all around, and he cannot move. He just be amongst us, and the beautiful smile that Swami gives, and he just gets pleased with. Then Swami says that, okay, now he says, I'm very happy. But it's the last 3 months you've been avoiding us, and now he says, I'm very happy. Very happy for what? That we all have realized that what was that missing was just to go and just, feel him as our friend, and just do not keep the distance as Swami or whatever. I think there's every lesson that he had taught us, every minute, every second. And, so it's amazing that I think Navavida Bhaktis are always there. But then for our devotees also, for those, Swami always used to caution us in terms of the devotees spending so much of time, money, travel, and sunlight, rain, cold, whatever, nothing. They're all there looking for just a glimpse of Swami, and you people sitting down the shade right under the nose of Swami there. So, and realize the importance that we have been getting, and be blessed.
Yeah.
So, is to caution us, give us the love, give us that friendship, space for being, take that friendshipness. And of course, obviously, the after Sakhyam is the Atma Nivedanam. And, see, one thought I have been carrying these days is this: with form, without form. Each one of us carry that, whether knowingly or unknowingly. The with form is the Panchaputas, the form. Me as Shastri by name, or Brother Bindu, or any one of us. But what we have been talking about, the Atma or the whatever is, the form, that form without, Nirakara. So each one of us also carry that. So it's a matter of connecting that to him, and we are part and parcel of that, the Parabrahman. So whatever name that he may comes out, whichever form he is going to come now, the Premasai or whatever it is, but he has already given us the chart that we can redeem ourselves in this life itself, because Jantunam Narajanma Durlabham. It is so difficult, but we don't feel that difficulty now, having this form and enjoying this form and enjoying the proximity of Swami also. So that is the caution that we need to be aware of, and that we carry on and see that we reach the goal that we are expected to. So I think the task is fast approaching for every one of us. I think Swami says the sunrise is not a happiness, but it's a caution for us to be one day closer to your goal. So, Sairam.
Absolutely. Thanks, brother. Thanks for sharing. And I'm sure with being Swami students, while Atma Nivedanam is the culmination, yes, but a lot of Sakyam Bhav you all enjoyed with Bhagwan's presence. I think he really, moved around with you like Gopikas did with Krishna. And that is one benefit. And when you all share with us, you really bring us into that Dwarka, into that stage where Krishna was with the Gopikas, or Gopikas used to yearn and, really love Krishna. Thanks, brother. Yes. Anything you were saying again?
No.
Okay. So we'll again share for the next episodes to come what we are going to talk about in the group. Until then, we all continue with our individual Vyaktigat sadhana, that we do on a daily basis, not wait for 2 weeks, Sunday to come and then we little bit connect. It's important that we have that password and stay at Wi-Fi. Why Wi-Fi is more important than 3G is because in Wi-Fi, you can download as much. That Wi-Fi is nothing but the satsanga that you did, the Sai Center bhajans that you did, or the holy company that you make, because there you can download as much as you can and then get back to your 3G network where you can do individual sadhana of connecting as and when you want. So it was lovely being with you, and let's end with Onkar and Samasta Loka. Om समस्तलोकाः सुखिनो भवन्तु समस्तलोकाः सुखिनो भवन्तु समस्तलोकाः सुखिनो भवन्तु ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः जय बोलिए भगवान श्री सत्य साई बाबा जी की Jai. Sairam. Sairam once again, brothers and sisters. Have a wonderful Sunday and a great blessed week ahead. Thank you. Sairam.
Sairam.
Sairam. Sairam sister. Sairam.